I don't feel rage and madness. It feels more intentional and grounded. Hey music friends, this is Davi Vasc, I'm a music composer for games, and it's time for us to listen to another Elden Ring track. I know you guys have been excited for this, and today we're going to listen to and talk about the theme for Mohg Lord of Blood. Let's go. Mysterious. Oh, the choirs. It feels kind of soft so far. I bet it's gonna grow. So, there's a cool thing here. Pay attention to the left speaker. There's a harpsichord. It's kind of quiet, but as you guys probably know, the harpsichord is a very old instrument. It's from the Baroque. It was very popular in the Baroque era, and even the kind of notes that they are doing, the rhythmic patterns that they're doing here, is something that it's very reminiscent of the Baroque period. They're doing kind of this kind of stuff, right? It's again, it's very Baroque. I wonder if that means anything. It certainly sounds sophisticated, and like I said at the beginning, it's very quiet and soft. So so far at least, that there's probably a second phase that it's bigger and louder, but so far I don't feel rage and madness, which are so common emotions to feel in Elden Ring and stuff like Bloodborne, right? That kind of enraging energy and violence. I don't feel any of that here. It's very soft. It feels more intentional and grounded and lucid and sophisticated as well, as I said, because of the Baroque thing. So it's kind of a sophisticated malevolence. Sounding harmony as well. It didn't take long for them to use this. It's a very disturbing chord, and I keep saying this in pretty much every Soulsborne video I make, because this is the most disturbing chord there is in music, and of course they love using it in Soulsborne tracks, and it didn't take long here for this track. Check this out. Wait for it. Now. So, and by the way, someone asked me recently, why don't you say why it sounds disturbing? You just keep describing the chord as disturbing, but why don't you tell us why it's disturbing? And that would be a very long explanation that I don't think would be very interesting. It would involve explaining stuff like harmonic series. But I'll just tell you this. This chord was considered so disturbing and made people feel so uncomfortable in the medieval times that it was literally prohibited by the Catholic Church, and people would get in trouble for using it in music. And back then it was called Diabolus in Musica, which means devil in music. So actually, wow, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if this has something to do with Mohg Lord of Blood, because I'm not seeing the gameplay right now, I'm not seeing the fight, but I saw an image of Mohg when I was choosing which version I was going to listen to, And to me, again, this might be a wrong first impression. To me, it felt like he was wearing some kind of clerical clothes, you know, some kind of priest, some kind of evil priest or something. So I wonder if there's a connection there. The choirs are so beautiful. Very baroque, and there's a lack of impact that I'm used to in. Oh, beautiful! There's a lack of punch and lack of impact that I'm very used to in this Soulsborne tracks. You can observe that I'm even doing this with my hand, because when I listen to these Soulsborne songs, I'm used to having a pounding rhythm going with it, and I usually do this to keep up with the rhythm, but here it's not here. I keep expecting a pounding drum or something like this, and it doesn't come. So again, this feels very grounded and intellectual even, and much less primal and angry and emotional. And it's interesting to think about that rhythm and percussion and that pounding sensation that I talked about. And percussionists get mad when I say this, but rhythm and percussion is the most primitive, is the most primal aspect of music, and there's nothing negative about that. That's not an insult or a compliment. It's just a fact. It's just how it is. It's the most primal, it's the most fundamental aspect of music is rhythm. All the other elements of music, harmony, melody, they contain rhythm in them. So if music was a pyramid, for example, rhythm would be at the base of the pyramid. So the lack of this primitive and primal element gives this a very intellectual kind of aspect, and at the same time it sounds evil, so it's kind of an intellectual evil, which is very scary. It's building up. Oh, that's a pretty short first phase. I assume it's... Yeah, so now it's second phase. I'm curious to hear if it's still going to be quiet and intentional and intellectual, or if it's gonna evolve into madness. Let's see. Very disturbing. Okay. So right off the bat I noticed a lot more of percussion, a lot more of beat, you know, that kind of pounding beat. And I noticed here somewhere a snare drum. Did you hear it? Snare drum is, of course, it's a percussive instrument, of course, and it's very related to, you know, war, to the military, to a fight, to battles. So there's more of that primitive, primal element here. It's getting a little bit more emotional. I feel like this Mohg Lord of Blood guy is starting to get a little bit more emotional, a bit more angry maybe. Feels like a kind of chorus. Nice melody, very nice melody. And they're still using that. Let me see if I can get it. That disturbing chord. See? Very disturbing. of a catchy melody. Oh. See, it got quiet again. Oh, it's growing. Oh my god. Oh, I'm scared. Oh my god. I got goosebumps. So they changed the rhythm here. Back when they were doing that chorus that I talked about, it was a 4-beat measure. Check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. So it's just a 4-beat measure, and the 4-beat measure sounds a bit more serious than the 3-beat measure, especially in this kind of tempo here, like 1, 2, 1, 2. Kind of feels like a march, so it feels a bit more combative. But then on that next part here, they change it to a 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of funny that we were talking about in the beginning about it being so grounded and intellectual and sophisticated, because I think it was in my Godric the Grafted video that I talked about how the 3-beat measure, when used in a kind of evil and disturbing sounding track, it ends up sounding like madness, because, you know, the 3-beat measure is associated with dancing, you know, with waltzes, so it's a kind of a happy thing. But then when it's put into something so disturbing and something so evil, it ends up sounding like madness. So it's funny that it transitioned from being intellectual and sophisticated all the way into madness. And again, the disturbing chord. Oh, and again. It's interesting. Even though there's rage and emotion, there are moments where that kind of quiet sophistication still shows up. Oh, I think... Wow, so disturbing. You probably noticed it by now, but this channel is all about sharing the music from the games that we love with each other, so please keep sharing with me like you've been doing with suggestions, and I'll keep sharing with you as well by making these videos. And by the way, speaking of sharing, I've mentioned a couple of times the video I did on Godric the Grafted. That video is over here on my Elden Ring playlist, and over here I'm gonna put my Bloodborne playlist if you're into that. And remember, whenever you're ready to spread your wings and go on a music journey again, I'll see you there.